Ladies and gentlemen, every single day you wake up, you're making decisions, not just about what to wear or what to eat, but decisions that are silently shaping your future. You may not realize it, but in this very moment, you're choosing what to focus on, what it all means, and what you're going to do about it. And those three decisions made over and over again are writing the story of your life. Not someday, not next year, today, right now. In a world full of distractions, mastering your focus is a superpower. Every notification, headline, or complaint is a pull on your attention. If you don't train your focus, it will be hijacked. But if you direct it with intention, you can change the way you feel, change the decisions you make, and change what you achieve. Focus is not just about attention, it's about creation, because whatever you focus on consistently, you begin to create more of in your life, whether it's fear or faith, chaos or clarity, doubt or drive. Every experience in life is filtered through one critical lens, the meaning you assign to it. Meaning is not built into the events of your life, it is something you create. Two people can go through the exact same situation and come away with completely different emotions and beliefs. That difference lies not in the event itself, but in the interpretation. The moment something happens, your brain seeks to make sense of it. It asks, what does this mean? And the answer to that question drives your emotional response. The meaning you attach becomes the fuel for how you feel, how you react, and how you carry that experience forward. If you assign a painful meaning to a situation, like this happened because I'm not good enough, or I'll never succeed, then your emotional response will mirror that pain. You might feel sadness, frustration, anger, or shame. On the other hand, if you give that same situation an empowering meaning, like this is a lesson, or this is making me stronger, then the emotional response is completely different. You may still feel challenged, but you'll also feel motivated, determined, and focused. The event hasn't changed, but your meaning has. And that single shift can change your emotional state in an instant. This process plays out hundreds of times a day, often without you realizing it. A tone in someone's voice, a text message with no emoji, a passing look. Your brain instantly makes meaning, and your emotions follow. When you take control of that meaning, you take control of your life's emotional quality, your energy, your motivation, your sense of purpose. All of it stems from the meaning you're creating right now. The power of meaning is that it becomes a pattern. If you repeatedly assign negative meanings to your experiences, you build a mental habit of suffering. You begin to expect pain, disappointment, or failure even before it happens. Your nervous system becomes conditioned to respond to life with anxiety or defensiveness. On the flip side, if you build the habit of assigning resourceful, empowering meanings, then you start to find strength in adversity. Your emotional muscles become trained to respond with resilience, not reactivity. This doesn't mean pretending everything is okay or denying your feelings. It means choosing to look deeper than the surface and finding a purpose or perspective that moves you forward. Momentum doesn't come from waiting for the perfect moment. It comes from choosing to act in spite of imperfection. People often wait until they feel confident before they act, not realizing that confidence is the result of action, not the prerequisite for it. The more you do, the more certainty you create. Repetition builds mastery, and mastery builds confidence. Every time you take decisive action, you train your nervous system to associate progress with movement rather than hesitation. That training becomes your emotional fuel. It generates a sense of direction, purpose, and inner power that cannot be accessed through thought alone. Action also creates clarity. You can think about something for weeks, analyze it from every angle, and still be confused. But when you take action, feedback emerges. You see what works, what doesn't, and what needs to change. The path reveals itself only to those who move. Waiting for clarity before acting is like waiting for the fire to warm you before you put in the wood. It doesn't work that way. When you move, the universe responds. You begin to attract new opportunities, new resources, and new insights simply because you are in motion. Action is the force that turns ideas into reality. Without action, even the most powerful thoughts, the most inspiring visions, and the most detailed plans remain stuck in the realm of potential. What separates those who achieve from those who wish is not talent or luck. it's movement. Action breaks the inertia of fear, doubt, and overthinking. When you take a step forward, no matter how small, you disrupt the mental patterns that keep you stuck. That single step sends a message to your brain that you're no longer just thinking, you're doing. And once you're in motion, the energy begins to build. Inaction, on the other hand, breeds doubt. The longer you wait, the heavier the weight becomes. Thoughts spin in circles, emotions grow stagnant, and possibilities shrink. It becomes easier to convince yourself that it's not the right time, that you're not ready, or that maybe you weren't meant for this. That's the trap of delay. But the moment you act, even imperfectly, you regain power. That power compounds. It strengthens your sense of identity. You begin to see yourself as someone who follows through, who creates results, who doesn't just dream but does. There's also something deeply physiological about momentum. Action produces energy. It engages the body, floods the system with motion, and breaks mental loops. Emotion is tied to motion. When you move, your emotions shift. That's why even a small physical action, standing up, speaking out, writing one sentence, making one call, can start a chain reaction that moves you forward faster than any amount of thought or planning could. The key is not waiting to feel ready. The key is acting from your highest intention, even when you feel uncertain. Because the moment you act, you step into a different state of being, one that grows stronger with every move you make. Your story explains why you are where you are and what you believe is possible for your future. For some, the story is empowering. I've overcome hard things so I can handle anything. For others, it is limiting. I always get close, but I never win. This inner narrative becomes the lens through which you see every challenge, opportunity, and interaction. It informs how you respond to failure, how you interpret success, and how you treat yourself when things go wrong. Then the more often you tell this story, to others and to yourself, the more deeply it becomes embedded in your identity. Every human being lives according to a story, a personal narrative that defines who they are, what they're capable of, and what life means to them. This story is not written in stone. It is created through interpretation, memory, belief, and repetition. It forms silently over time, shaped by past experiences, voices from the outside world, cultural messages, and emotional moments. But at its core, the story you tell yourself is a choice. It is not something that happens to you. It is something you actively participate in, whether you're conscious of it or not. The problem is that most people never consciously write their story. They inherit it. They accept it from their childhood, from their failures, from what others said about them, or from the times life didn't go as planned. They confuse moments with identity. A single rejection becomes a story of unworthiness. A difficult season becomes a story of being cursed or unlucky. And once that narrative takes hold, it becomes self-fulfilling. Your behavior begins to match the story. Your energy reflects it. You unconsciously look for evidence to confirm it, and you filter out anything that contradicts it. But just as stories can be written, they can also be rewritten. You are not bound to the first draft of your life. You have the power to reinterpret your past, to extract strength from struggle, to find meaning in the pain, and to choose a different perspective. It doesn't mean denying what happened. It means deciding what it means about who you are and what's still possible. The same setback can be the reason someone gives up or the reason someone rises. The same loss can become the foundation of bitterness or the spark of transformation. It all depends on the narrative you choose to tell about it. When you shift your story, you shift your identity, and identity is powerful. People act consistently with who they believe they are. If your story is, I'm a survivor who finds a way, you'll find a way. If your story is, I always get stuck, you'll continue to create situations that prove it. The story you live by becomes the emotional blueprint of your life. It either expands and the remarkable truth is, at any moment, you can pause and ask, what story am I telling right now? And is it one that serves me or one that limits me? Because every story is a choice, and every choice is a turning point. Every single day, from the moment you wake up to the moment your head hits the pillow, you are making decisions. Most of them seem small, almost invisible. What to think about, what to focus on, how to respond to a challenge, whether to speak up or stay silent, whether to move forward or hold back. But these decisions are far more powerful than they appear. They are not isolated events. They are part of a pattern. Over time, that pattern becomes your life. The decisions you make daily are not just shaping your mood or your schedule, they are shaping your destiny. People often think destiny is something fixed, something written in advance or determined by forces outside of them. But in reality, it's constructed moment by moment through the decisions you make under pressure, in silence when no one is watching. Those decisions form the internal architecture of your life. They determine what you expect from yourself, what standards you hold, what risks you're willing to take, and how you respond when things don't. Whether you're aware of it or not, these small decisions create the map that leads you toward either growth or stagnation, fulfillment or frustration. Another powerful truth about focus is that it expands whatever it touches. If you focus on anger, it grows. If you focus on gratitude, it multiplies. That's not magic, that's neurobiology. What you focus on activates neural pathways in the brain, making those patterns more dominant. Focus creates emotional habits. This is why two people can go through the same situation and come out with totally different takeaways. It's not the situation that determines the outcome, it's what they chose to focus on during and after the experience. One of the most powerful aspects of these daily decisions is their ability to empower or disempower you. When you decide to take ownership of your emotions instead of blaming others, you reclaim your power. When you decide to learn from failure instead of avoiding it, you create growth. When you decide to take action rather than wait for the perfect moment, you create progress. And when these types of decisions are made consistently, they become more than habits, they become character. They form the foundation of who you are and who you are becoming. What makes these decisions so impactful is not their size, but their consistency. A decision made once doesn't change much, but a decision made repeatedly about how you show up, what you believe, what you give your energy to, builds momentum, it forms habits, it conditions your nervous system. The way you decide to see yourself every day becomes your identity. The way you decide to treat other people becomes your relationship. The way you decide to face challenges becomes your resilience. Every time you choose fear over courage, comfort over growth, or delay over action, you reinforce a direction. But the same is true when you choose the opposite. Every decision is a vote for the kind of life you're building. Even when life feels chaotic, even when you feel like things are out of your control, you always have the ability to decide how you show up. That decision, made day after day, is how people rise from adversity, build lasting change, and live with purpose. It's not a one-time event. It's not one giant leap. It's a series of deliberate choices made in the everyday moments that seem insignificant, but are anything but. Because in the end, it's those daily decisions, not fate, not chance, that quietly and powerfully carve the path of your life. Focus also controls your beliefs. If you consistently focus on failures or setbacks, you'll start to believe that you're unlucky or not good enough. On the other hand, if you focus on progress, even the smallest steps forward, you start building a belief in your own growth. Over time, your consistent focus becomes your identity. If you always look for problems, you become a pessimist. If you train yourself to seek possibilities, you become a strategist. Your identity and your destiny are both shaped by what you repeatedly choose to focus on. What most people don't realize is that focus is a decision. It's not something that happens to you. It's something you control. You can choose to focus on what's missing, on what's wrong, or on what you can't change. Or you can shift your attention to what's present, what's working, and what's within your power. This decision isn't just about positive thinking, it's about emotional mastery. Your focus dictates your feeling. When someone cuts you off in traffic, you can focus on the offense and feel rage, or you can focus on the fact that no one got hurt and feel relief. That small shift in focus can change the quality of your entire day. Every moment of every day, your mind is bombarded with information, images, sounds, conversations, thoughts, memories. Yet out of this chaos, you are only consciously aware of a tiny fraction. That fraction is determined by one thing: your focus. What you choose to give your attention to shapes not only your perception of the world, but your emotional state, your behavior, and ultimately the results you create in your life. Focus is not just a mental function, it's a filter through which you interpret reality. If you focus on problems, you feel stress. If you focus on opportunities, you feel motivated. The external world might be the same, but the experience changes because of where your mind is directed.